They say a person's scream in the wind disappears before anyone hears it. But if you stay till the end, you're about to find out that some screams echo so loudly they change destinies forever. So before we begin, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens next will shock you to the core. The sun was sinking behind the mountains when the helicopter blades cut through the evening sky. Inside it, a black woman in her late 30s, wrists cuffed, face bruised, and uniform. Though none of the officers noticed that beneath the dirt and blood was a tactical emblem only members of the highest classified armed unit were allowed to wear. To the cops manhandling her, she was just another suspect, someone to intimidate, roughen up, and teach a lesson. As they shoved her toward the open hatch of the helicopter, "We know what you did," the lead officer snarled, pushing her until her feet scraped the metal floor. She didn't fight, didn't protest, didn't scream. She only stared ahead with eyes that held a strange calm, a quiet power no one could quite read. "You've got nothing to say," another officer mocked, nudging her closer to the open air. Wind roared in, whipping her braids across her face. Clouds swirled beneath them, the city lights shrinking into tiny sparks far below. Still she remained silent. That silence angered them. "Fine." The lead officer spat, gripping her vest. "Let's see how tough you are when you're falling." With one violent shove, they tossed her out of the helicopter. The world spun. Wind crushed her chest. The officers laughed, actual laughter, as she dropped like a stone toward the glowing city below. But the silence broke not with her scream, but with a single sharp pop. The small, nearly invisible device strapped beneath her clothing activated. A tactical deployment harness shot open, wings of reinforced parachute fabric slicing into the air. Her body steadied, her descent slowing as she controlled her fall with expert precision they never imagined she possessed. Meanwhile, in the helicopter, the officers continued laughing until one of them noticed the blinking light on the empty seat where her body had been. A flashing signal. A military-grade tracker, the type only federal tactical divisions used. Their faces paled. "Sir, this can't be," one officer stammered, grabbing the blinking device as dread seeped into his voice. The lead officer's hands trembled as he read the code etched into the metal. "Officer, Elite Division, Specialized Covert Response." He swallowed hard. She's not a suspect. She's one of ours." The air grew thin inside the helicopter, suddenly colder than the sky outside. Below them, the woman landed smoothly on a rooftop, standing tall as she unclipped the harness and looked up at the panicked faces staring down. She finally spoke, her voice calm, steady, terrifying. "You just assaulted a decorated operative," she said into the comm device hidden in her boot. "Prepare for extraction and arrest." Her words rattled through their headsets just as alarms inside the helicopter started blaring. Her unit had locked onto the aircraft's location. And if you think this is shocking, Chapter 2 will leave you speechless, so stay with me. And yes, hit like and subscribe right now because the truth is about to get even darker. The helicopter jerked as the officers inside scrambled to make sense of what they had just done, but panic clouded their judgment. And for the first time that night, the lead officer felt fear settling like ice in his veins. "She's an elite," he whispered, his voice cracking. Threw a federal tactical officer out of a helicopter. The others exchanged horrified glances, realizing the magnitude of their mistake. They weren't dealing with an ordinary woman. They had assaulted one of the most lethal operatives in the country, someone trained to survive situations far more dangerous than what they had attempted. Down below, the black woman sprinted across the rooftop, her movements fluid and controlled as she retrieved a small case hidden beneath an air vent. Inside it lay her weapons, her comm gear, and her badge, sleek, black, and unmistakable. She clipped it onto her tactical vest with a click that echoed like thunder. Seconds later, the sky darkened as two military-grade helicopters descended, floodlights cutting through the darkness and illuminating the original police aircraft like a spotlight shining on criminals in a stage play gone wrong. "We're done," one officer whispered, dropping to his knees as a voice crackled over their headsets. "Remain still. You are being detained." The woman from below launched herself from the rooftop and grabbed the lowered rope ladder, her body lifting smoothly into the air as she ascended toward the hovering extraction chopper. The wind blew past her, but this time she wasn't falling. She was rising, controlled, powerful. When she stepped through the open door of her own aircraft, everyone inside instantly straightened, saluting her with rigid respect. "Commander Hale," her lieutenant said, jaw tight with fury. "Authorization to detain the offending officers." She adjusted her gloves, her expression unreadable. "Bring them in alive," Commander Hale said calmly, "but don't make it easy." Moments later, tactical ropes dropped around the police helicopter, and a squad of heavily armed operatives fast roped directly onto its frame. The officers inside raised their hands, trembling, as the elite squad disarmed them in seconds. They were pinned to the floor, their badges confiscated, their rights read aloud with strict, icy authority. The lead officer dared to look up at the woman who had once been beneath his boot. We didn't know," he stuttered. "If we'd known who you were, you would have treated me like a human being." Commander Hale cut in sharply, her voice slicing through him like a blade. "Respect isn't owed based on rank. It's owed because people deserve dignity. Something you forgot tonight." He lowered his head in shame, tears gathering in his eyes. The helicopter convoy turned toward the federal facility, the night sky humming with engines and consequences. Commander Hale stood tall near the open hatch, wind brushing past her braids as she looked out at the city. No fear, no anger, only the steady conviction of a woman who had survived injustice and risen above it. And if you've stayed until this moment, don't leave without liking this video and subscribing, because stories like this remind us that the truth always comes out, justice always finds its way, and courage, real courage, can turn even the darkest fall into a rise no one forgets.